Hello, this is RICKY, the YouTube Tech Guy. Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about a tech rant that a lot of you have been asking for, and that is Android fragmentation is a benefit, not a con. And this is a really interesting one because I don't think anyone's ever taken this position before, but it's something I truly believe in, and especially when every week on Mobile Weekly and every time I get asked, oh, when is this version of Android coming to this phone? And I always say, why do you want it? What feature are you just like, oh my god, I need this feature on the phone? Now, don't get me wrong, updates are great for the phones that can handle them. But most people don't understand that actually it's a benefit that your old phone doesn't get a new version of an operating system. Here's why. So let's go over the simple fact of, well, I want to get a Pixel because this is going to be a better phone software-wise than this Note 8 that still has an older version of Android. No, that's not true. It's not going to be better, it's just simply going to be Google's version of the phone versus another manufacturer's version of the phone. And here's the big thing about that is that it really depends on the user if that's a benefit or not. For instance, let's break down some of the biggest features in each year of Android to go over just how insignificant some of these upgrades are, okay? So let's go through it. So Android 8.0, big features are easily the picture-in-picture, something you've been able to do with LG and Samsung smartphones for years now, with any app, not just Netflix or not just YouTube or only the Google apps that are now supporting it, but you've been able to miniaturize apps and put them down to that picture-in-picture size for a long time. Is it easier on Android 8.0? Absolutely, I'll give you that. But I've been able to do that on my smartphone for years now. So that was one. Split screen. Hey, look at that. Split screen finally came on Android 7.0. I've had that since the Galaxy S3. And since what, the LG G2? Split screen has been around for a long time. And for those of you who think that, oh, but Google's version's so much better, right? This split screen is far superior. It does way more apps, it's all that kind of stuff. Actually, it really doesn't do that many more apps, first of all. Second of all, it sucks compared to LG and Samsung. Here's a case in point. I want to do split screen on landscape. I want to make this a little bit bigger or this a little bit smaller. Can't do that on this phone, but you know what a phone I can do that on? This phone. This phone doesn't have Android 8.0, it only has Android 7.0. But how can this have a better split screen? It's because it's better software. Samsung and LG have been doing split screen for way longer than Google and have a far superior version of it than they do. Not to mention that the whole drag and drop that was introduced as well, that has been around for a long time as well. Now, some of these features I will give Google credit for. They bring them out or they bring them back because Samsung or LG abandoned them because people weren't using them and all of these features. So you have to give Android credit for that. But in terms of bringing really cool new features, they never do. They usually take features that have already been put out and on other phones and then just put it on their version. Dark mode, that's been around. OnePlus is one of the famous ones that's had that. You have battery optimization, it's been around for a long time. Quick camera, been around for a long time. Memory manager, this was all Android 6.0. Android 5.1, custom quick settings. Those settings at the top you can actually customize, which we were doing that for years on other smartphones before that. Guest mode, LG came out with that years ago before Android 5.0 did. Battery saver mode, again, been for years now before they came up with it. Search the settings, again, been done before. All of these features, the biggest features of Android, whether it be battery management, anything like that, other manufacturers were already doing that before Google did it. Now, is it a benefit to it? Yes, it is. But therein lies the second reason why updates shouldn't matter. Updates are primarily tested on the main processors in the market that year and sometimes the year before, but that's what they're really tested on. They are mainly tested on that processor, which, say for this year, most phones are running either Snapdragon 835 series, the Snapdragon 626 series, or variants of those slightly different. Now that is what Android 8.0 is really tested on. If your Android Snapdragon 821 or forbid 820 gets it, guess what? It hasn't been really tested that much on that version, which is why you get bugs and which is why the performance is lacking. Now, this is why I always say, look, if you're over a year old on your phone, I wouldn't update, because your phone isn't going to run as good. And guess what? There's not much updating that will happen to fix your phone if something goes wrong. Now, the biggest argument against, you should always update, is Apple. Let's take a look at Apple, because guess what? They're updating right now, and they're in the news for it. They purposely slow older devices down, even if it's a new device. Meaning, if you just bought an iPhone, and it's an iPhone 7, it is ready at a moment's notice to actually update it and slow your phone down, even though that update isn't supposed to happen for over a year of usage to your battery. It has already been showing in tests that it will actually still do the update and slow your phone down and throttle it because you got the latest update. So here's my thing about that is, not only do they do that, but how many issues has Apple had? Ever since iOS, I want to say 6.0, Apple has had issue after issue after issue. They are not the tight company that they once were when it came to software. They usually, statistically, now this changes from year to year, but they even crash more than Android now, just because simply every time they release an iOS update, there's something that went wrong with that update that affected something else. Are they the worst at it? No, I'm not saying that. Are there other issues on Android as well with that same kind of things? Yes. But here's the thing. Having the latest software update does not guarantee you anything for stability, for protection. The only thing that you would want is the security patch updates, which get pushed out by your carrier. Now that in itself is a whole dilemma, because I don't believe carriers should push it out. I believe that should be pushed out by either the manufacturer or by Google themselves. The carriers should not have the power to do that. And I was on customer service with Google at one point about that. I thought it was really stupid. I manually pushed it myself, and you can do that if you know what you're doing. But it's something that a lot of customers, I feel, don't have privy to. So for that reason, I will say that is something that you always want to update, the latest security patch. And again, that is judged by the carriers, not by the manufacturer, and not by Google themselves. Now, really with fragmentation, the whole benefit is the software that was made for your phone to run perfectly is the best version of it for that phone. Because anytime you update to a newest software on a 2-year-old phone, it is going to slow down to a crawl. And before you say, well, my iPhone doesn't, I've used iPhones that are upgraded and that are 2 years old, and yes, it does. Now, maybe you're a very light user and you never notice it. Maybe that is a possibility. But I've seen friends that still have S5s right now, that still have S6s, and I see what the difference is if they update it, so they actually retrofittedly do not update it at that point, which is what I recommend. I think if it's older than a year, you shouldn't update it. Because guess what? Your phone wasn't made for this new software, for this, oh man, Google's always running now. Oh wait, I don't want that because I was made before Android 5.0, so I don't want that feature because my phone wasn't made for it, and now my battery life sucks. Or these are type of experiences that you will not be ready for and your phone isn't ready for. And then once you upgrade it, what are you going to do? You're going to be frustrated with this phone, and guess what? Then you're going to end up buying a new phone that was made for that software in the first place. But this is one thing that I constantly get asked about, of like, oh, when is Samsung going to upgrade to Android 8.0? When is this phone going to upgrade to 8.0? When is all this stuff? And again, my first response is always, why do you want it? What is the newest feature that you really want? Because unless you really plan on using one specific feature, and look, I'm a techie. I do actually plan on using some of those features sometimes, and I really am envious of it sometimes. But I would say most people just want the latest update just to have the latest update. And they don't know that that could actually screw up their phone. I remember saying last year with the S7 Edge, I was like, trust me, none of you guys want to update this phone to Android 7.0, I think it was, because I think it came out with 6.0. I was like, none of you guys want to update it to this. It is god awful. It's going to cause you so many problems. You don't want this. I said that for at least 3 months because I was a beta tester for Samsung and I had it on there before everyone else. Sure enough, as soon as it came out, I had a floodgate of emails saying that my phone is messed up now, I have so many issues, and that was the most issues that I think that Samsung ever had for a 3-month period while they tried to fix this version of Android. It had so many issues, and why? It's because the S7 wasn't really made for that. Now they kind of had to do it because they had the whole Note 7 debacle, and they had to do something before the S series was kind of put in bad look before the S8. So I understand, but at the same time, software updates are not as important as we all make them out to be. We think that, oh, it has to have the latest version. Security patches, yes, they are the most important thing that your phone should have. And you can always check that in your system updates to see when's the last time you got a security patch update. For instance, every phone should have one for October because that was a big update security patch. So if you don't have one, reach out to your carrier and tell them you demand that security patch because that leaves you vulnerable to Wi-Fi if you don't have that. But for all this talk about always like, I want the latest version of Android, keep in mind that if your phone is running great right now, it might not be running great after that update because again, it's all a matter of what software and is tested on what hardware. And that's the biggest thing that I really think that people don't realize because once this is tested, and if they didn't think of this one thing, you have to rely on them to update it yet again. And if it's a manufacturer like Samsung, like LG, like HTC, well, guess what? Not only do they have to test it out with their cells, but then they have to test it out with their carriers. And this is all a delayed process unless you have an unlocked version, which I highly recommend after having the unlocked version of the Note 8. Hopefully this helped you guys out. I really just, I can't stand every time someone's like, oh, this needs the latest version of Android. Why? Is always my question that I ask to you to ask yourself, why do you need the latest version of Android? If you can't answer that, then guess what? You're probably better off without it because when that update comes, your phone might take a turn for the worst. Alright guys, I can't wait to get all of your comments in the comments section. I'm sure I'm going to have actually and all this kind of stuff and well this person said that, you know, feel free. But in actuality, as someone that has done technology for so many years and that has helped out so many people on email, I would say I'm one of the YouTubers that actually does help a lot of you guys when you actually ask the questions like, hey, this is happening with my phone, hey, this is happening with my phone. I might not get every one of them because I do get hundreds a day, but I do always try to hit a little few up here and there to make sure that I can answer as many issues as I can because I see all the little small issues you guys have sometime after doing an update. Alright guys, hopefully you did like this video. If you did, please give a thumbs up down below. This has been RICKY, the YouTube Tech Guy. Thank you for watching our video. If you liked it, why don't you go ahead and subscribe up there. Make sure you follow us on social media right here. And of course, check out our latest video up there. And right down here, you're going to find the perfect video for you. Or at least that's what YouTube tells me. Thanks again.